Hello and welcome to another episode of A Bright Side. Today we're in Penryn for another adventure, family tree stuff. So let's go check it out. We've parked. I can't remember the name of it. What was the name of this car park? Commercial Road, something like that. Very pokey little council car park up there. It wasn't very nice to manoeuvre around. Now there is this little signpost here. States there you are here. So we're going to walk up there, St. Gluvius Street, I assume it's pronounced. And there's a little museum here. And then we're going to walk down Broad Street. And I'll tell you... Over Rebellion Stone. Oh, yes. And then, as we go, I'll explain a little bit about like some of the family tree stuff, which is the actual reason why we're here. Yeah, this is a very quaint little road. This leads up this hill to, I think it's called Lower Market Street. Just like that little sign, Hornpipe Cottage. Okay, very steep hill that leads up to what I assume to be the main road in Penryn. I might be wrong on that. I haven't been to Penryn too many times in my life, so I'm not overly familiar with it. But I assume where we're heading is the main area. Okay, there's the sign, St. Gluvius Street. And we've just walked up there. My goodness. Interesting, like, clock tower. I assume this could be described as maybe like a market house, like with, in Penzance you've got Market House. It kind of strikes me a little bit like that. But look at some of these houses, these are amazing, aren't they? We're just gonna walk up and then get the view backwards onto this rather lovely building. States there, oh, bit like backlit there. States there 1839. So that is the same era as Market House in Penzance, and the era at which my fourth great-grandfather resided here in Penryn. So a couple of times on the channel we have covered some family tree stuff regarding Waldron Andrew, who we found his grave along with my third great-grandmother, his wife Rebecca, daughter, blah blah blah. Now they're buried over in Lelant. So I'll leave a link in the description if you want to see that video. But his father was called Thomas Andrew, and
he's a winner.
Eh?
And he's a winner.
Well, he was born in Falmouth.
Oh.
Well, according to the census, he was born in Falmouth, so I assume he was born in Falmouth. But he did have a business here in Penryn. Now, according to the census, he was a brewer, or at least came from a family of brewers. So my fourth great-grandfather, who was born in 1773, that's mental, isn't it? He was either born into a family of brewers or he founded a brewery himself. I'm not 100% sure yet. But he was born in Falmouth along with Waldron. He was born there too. Waldron went off and did other things. And Thomas lived here. We've got him on the censuses of being here in 1841 and 1851. Now, he died in 1855. We will go and check out that later on in the video, or like rather where he's buried. But what I was wanting to do, we wanted to pop into the Penryn Museum and just see what was in it, and also we wanted to go down to the harbour. We've got a little bit of like information that he rented an establishment along with a surgeon randomly down in that direction, but I can't really find like an address on it, so we're just going to be down there bimbling around, and also we have a pasty to eat. Right, so that, I'm just going to term it a market house. That is the location of the Penryn Museum. So it's obviously not a very big museum. To be honest, I hadn't even checked if it's open today. It might not be. It might be a bit of a sad trombone moment. If it's open, we'll pop in. If it's not, then we'll carry on to the next spot. Okay, so there is the, I assume what is the front of the building. Little pillared entrance there. Stone cross. So we're going to see if it's open. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it is. Also outside, there's an old phone box there that's been turned into a defibrillator place. That's all right. Okay, it does appear to be open. Penryn Museum. Let's head in. pointing out some of these exquisitely carved bits of stone. Lots of info. Gosh, yeah, for quite a smallish museum. Oh God, yeah, for quite a smallish museum, there's quite a lot in here. I wonder who he is. I suppose I could read it. Okay, James Rusden. That's him. Absolutely fascinated by this like fire engine. Look at this. This Penryn fire engine dates here 1887. That is awesome. There's another. What's this? Is this another part of it? Yeah. It's all must be the same carriage, wasn't it? 1887. How amazing is that? Loving this. It's a bit difficult to read out. It says the figurehead of the topsail schooner J.B. Gray, I think, 1867 to 1887. Check out this old locomotive whistle. A town clock mechanism and granite weights. What the heck? Look at this. The Universal British Dictionary, 1793 to 1798 for Penryn, mentions an excellent town clock with chimes made by Tompion. I don't know what Tompion means. Oh, this is a thing of beauty, isn't it, Charbel?
Cornish range.
Cornish range. I don't see any Cornish ranges anymore other than like in museums, maybe a few old cottages. I'm sure some old people, well, not old people, but I'm sure some people have got an old Cornish range somewhere, but they're certainly not built anymore. States here, Cornish range maker Terrell and Rogers, Redruth. I'd love to have a Cornish range. That'd be amazing. Oh, it states here that Terrell and Rogers. Brilliant. Look at this. There's like a pasty here on the breadboard. Is it a pasty?
Is it a pasty?
Or is it a loaf of bread? I don't know, it's got like a little... That looks like a pasty to me. Took me a minute to figure out what this was, but it's like an old hearse, isn't it? That? Headstone there. People's names. I don't see the name I'm looking for. 1919. Well, my fourth great-grandfather was long dead before then. I hope Princess Aurora isn't about. Penryn strongman Dick Williams. Yeah, I don't think I'd like to pick a fight with him. Crikey. Just on the back side of this old fire engine, I'm loving those helmets up there. More modern version there, although that's very outdated now, but... You've got these bottles here. Obviously the names don't match. This is a brewery. Obviously a bit later than the era we're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Okay, that was really interesting. Actually, highly recommend that little museum. If you're in Penryn, recommend popping in there. It is voluntary run. It relies on donations and, you know, what sort of scant money comes from the council. So, yeah, highly recommend popping in there and maybe giving them a little bit of cash. Right, so, I believe that's called Lower Market Street. And it now merges into Broad Street. Now, Broad Street is quite significant because in the 1851 census, this was, I believe, the last place that Thomas Andrew lived. And he was a visitor, so I think he might have gone bankrupt, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm just reading in between the lines of a census, which isn't the easiest of things. If you've ever done a family tree and a census and all that sort of stuff, it's not the easiest of things to navigate. But he...
Dependent on what people have written on
it depends on what people have written, that's right. Now, he... for the latter period of his life, he lived in number 19. Goodness. He lived in number... This is very busy. He lived in number 19 Broad Street, which is just down this way, I believe. There's Broad Street, street there. It's a van. So we've now walked onto Broad Street, so we're going to carry on down here a minute, and we're going to find number 19, which is the house that I believe Thomas Andrew, my 4th great-grandfather, died in 1855. These old buildings, I mean, they are amazing. I mean, we're obviously going back to the early 1800s, sort of like the early 19th century, when my 4th great-grandfather lived here. So number 5, I assume we're heading in the right direction. But yeah, it's quite wild to think that this street, largely speaking, he would have recognised. I mean, it does blow my mind that my 4th great-grandfather would have known this street, lived in this street towards the end of his life. Perhaps earlier, I don't know. I haven't got any information like earlier about him. But what does that say? Is that number 17?
17. So what are you looking for?
19.
19,
So I assume, is that pink one then? I assume that pink one is 19. There it is. I'll get a little bit closer in a minute, but we'll get that wider view. So according to the census in 1851, this is the building where Thomas Andrew lived. And I believe he was a visitor or a lodger of some description. So he didn't own the premises, he just lived in it. And he would probably have been about 80. I think, I'll double check the dates in a minute, but I believe he was about 80. But yeah, really interesting. Probably someone's looking at the house thinking, why the heck are you filming my property? I'm just going to scoot across the busy road a minute. I don't want to get killed here in Penryn. But there it is. Obviously, like, it would have been a different door, I assume, but it states up there, number 19. So there it is, number 19 Broad Street. How amazing is that? Amazing. That, I mean, like I said, that does blow my mind. I know we all have family history. Obviously, we all come from somewhere, but from my personal point of view, my 4th great-grandfather lived in that house and died in it. That just, yeah, that totally blows my mind. 1855, such a long time ago. It's like 100 and, I don't know, whatever, 170 odd years ago. Right, so carrying on down Broad Street now, it will take us to, I think it's called Quay Hill, but will take us to the harbour. It's a lovely view. Sorry about the wind on the audio. It's a little bit breezy today. Lovely day weather-wise. But yeah, it's Thomas Andrew. He would have walked down this street. He would have seen these buildings. All these buildings are of the right era. There's a park here with our national flag. Flag of St. Penryn, of course. So what this green space was, whether it was a park, wasteland, maybe another building, who knows what that would have been. But broadly speaking, he would have recognised all of this surrounding area, because all of these buildings are really old. Look at those ones down there again. All the same era. Fascinating. I wonder what he would have made of the busyness, though, of the town. I mean, this road is obviously a main thoroughfare through Penryn. Very, very busy today. Cars everywhere. You've really got to, I mean, obviously I'm there casting the camera around, but you've really got to have your wits about you, because it is extremely busy. Obviously it would have been a thriving port back in the early 1800s and beyond that, but yeah, definitely not busy with cars, because cars weren't around. Just press that button, because there's no way we're venturing across this road without the use of traffic lights. Okay, we did it. Just going to look at this harbour area because this is very beautiful out there. We'll get a closer look in a minute. This is Exchequer Quay. We've just walked down from Broad Street down here, down to this zone, and I'm just interested in actually the beautiful views here. Lots of boats tied up, obviously, being a harbour. How picturesque is this? Look at that old like wreck over there. Seen better days. There's like a cafe over there. In fact, actually, that's a boat. Again, sorry about that wind on the audio. Nice seats there. You can sit down, take the load off. Look at this beautiful view from Penryn Harbour. Just going to utilise these benches here for the moment that you really have been looking forward to in this video, because you know most of you tune in to watch me eat pasties, particularly a new pasty. I've never had a pasty from Marinas before. This place we popped there on our way. It had been recommended by one of you guys to try one of these pasties, so that's what we're going to do right here. Very beautiful. It's always a good start, isn't it, when you have all that meat, like in the, you know, same with you, yeah. So I went with a large, you went with a medium.
Yeah.
All right, very nice actually. That's a good pasty. Yeah, nicely seasoned, load of meat in there, very tasty meat, quite a juicy pasty. You see all the vegetables in there, all nice and sort of distinct and individual. You got your potatoes, your turnip, and your what's that thing called? Onion, and on a nice sort of flaky pastry there. Yeah, that's a good pasty. I do recommend the Marina's pasty. What are your thoughts on these things of beauty?
It's definitely a solid 7.
Yep.
It's not quite up there in the hallowed grounds of Farmer and Anne's.
So if you've been following the channel, yeah, to me a 10 out of 10 is just called the hallowed grounds, and that will be like an Anne's pasty, Gear Farm, Berryman's in Redruth. But this is very close, I must say. This is a very delicious pasty. I'm going to give it an 8.
I've hit quite a peppery patch.
Yep.
And I don't mind a bit of pepper.
No,
but,
as long as it doesn't blow your socks off.
Yeah, it's got to be well spread, but obviously, however they made it, they sort of just chuck. Like, a
little bit of pepper has gone into,
seems to be in one place.
Yeah.
And you don't need to go heavy on the pepper in a pasty because you've got the turnip, which gives you that bit of peppery flavour. But it's like,
it's very
not
very
a bad
delicious.
pasty, it's a very tasty pasty.
Yeah, so you're a 7, I'm an 8. 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Nice. Right, might be a little bit glared here, but here is Thomas Andrew on my phone. I'm not 100% sure where that portrait has come from. I'll put a bigger picture in now a minute of him, who we think is him. It popped up on Ancestry. I'm assuming that it's correct, but pinch of salt. Might be Thomas Andrew, might not be. But here, I don't know if I can, it's a bit glared here, apologies. But there's some information here. Now this isn't linked to me directly. This is something, the Martin family. So this is nothing to do with me, but it does state there, William Martin married Maria Avery on the 17th of October 1819 in St Gluvius. William was buried on the 20th of May 1840 in St Gluvius, age 51, blah blah blah. In 1841, Maria is aged 40 and a servant working for Thomas Andrew, a brewer of Quay Lane, which is just up there. So that was interesting. So this Maria Martin, or Maria Avery, but she married a Martin. So Maria Martin, aged 40, so that would have been after the death of her husband, was a servant working for Thomas Andrew, a brewer. So that is a bit of info. And then here, hang on a minute, let me get my phone in action here. Here on Crescent-Kernow, this is a leasing counterpart, Wharf and Gardens near Exchequer Penryn. Now I assume that garden is that little green space that we passed by where the Cornish flag was. I take that to be there.
gonna have to go to Crescent Curnow now.
Crescent, I know. Yeah, this is the online version of Crescent Curnow. Not the easiest of things to do online, if I'm being honest. But it states here, lease and counterpart, wharf and gardens near Exchequer Quay, Penryn. Parties, Mayor and Burgesses of Penryn and John Paul, Surgeon of Gwenup. 2. Thomas Gray Trenery, Surgeon of Penryn, and Thomas Andrew, Brewer. So basically, lease of dwelling houses, wharf and gardens on the south of the road from Broad Street to Exchequer Quay. It doesn't give an exact address, unfortunately, not that I can find. I mean, possibly, if you really know what you're doing, there is a reference number here. Road from Broad Street to Exchequer Quay, late in the occupation of William Mallet, deceased, bounded on south with channel by which, when the tide is out, the fresh water flows to the sea with liberty to build. Term, 99 years.
Yeah, that sounds like a...
Yeah. Consideration, £150 to Mayor and Burgesses. Rent, £2 2 shillings. I assume it's £2 2 shillings. Yeah, £2 2 shillings. Endorsed. Premises near Bowling Green. Okay, so obviously none of this would have been built when Thomas Andrew was alive and kicking. Hello, doggy. We're just going to cross the street again because we're going to have another look at this little green space. I think the lights have just gone, so we have to just wait a few minutes. Come up to this little sign here, Penryn Heritage Arts Trail. So we were down here on Exchequer Quay. Sorry, the sun's behind me. And we're here. This area, this like green area here. So I don't know, I'm assuming that somewhere in this vicinity, land was rented, built upon, or perhaps it was a pre-existing building that Thomas rented with or leased for 99 years with, I assume, maybe a business partner. I don't know. He was a surgeon from town, so I suppose he wouldn't have been short of money, would he? So maybe he was I don't know, I'm just digging around here. Maybe he was like a financial backer. I've absolutely no idea.
Maybe he liked a beer.
Maybe he did like a beer. Yeah. So I think, unless we see anything obvious here, I think we're kind of done in Penryn. So what we'll do is, in a minute, we'll go to the church where Thomas Andrew was laid to rest. Didn't it say something about a bowling green or something like that? Maybe I've just sort of made that up, but just in here where that flag is, yeah, lots of green space here. But really, other than just guessing and it probably not being right, I don't really know more until we get some more information, really. It's going to take a lot of research. I have a little information placard here in this little space. I don't know if there's anything on here. Looking for some memorial gardens. So that's more World War II, it states there. Points of interest. Again, I think that we're not going to really find anything too...
Oh, and there was...
Yeah, I was going to say, it would have been bombed quite a bit, wouldn't it? Like with the Second World War, obviously that's something like a before and after, obviously.
So we from what's here, it may well have...
Oh, possibly, yeah. Speculation, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, don't know. Could have been one of those buildings, you know. This is the thing, you just don't know, do you? I think really the best way to do it, because Penryn is going to have some historians who are going to know everything about Penryn. If you're watching the channel, please reach out to me, because I think we'll maybe have a little try and route round and see if we can maybe reach out to a sort of local historian who would maybe know his or her stuff and could maybe answer some of these questions. I don't know, maybe. And Crescent Curnow would have info. Their online one though, same as the National Archives. Online, absolutely shockingly difficult to use. So it'll be easier to physically go to Redruth and go to Crescent Curnow, yeah. Definitely. Just passing by the King's Bar, which is evidently a pub here, I assume. It's open, it's obviously closed at the minute. but it's not like boarded up or anything. It says they're established in 1789. Who knows? I wonder if Thomas Andrew brewed alcohol for this establishment. You don't know. He only lived down there, and brewery in that vicinity somewhere. This old building, we assume, is like the fire station. States up there 1899. Perhaps that old fire engine up in the museum perhaps worked out of here for a while. Just this little road here caught my eye. Again, old street here in Penryn. Like I said earlier on, I don't know Penryn very well. I've never really walked around Penryn all that much. But again, another, that looks a bit newer there. But again, going down this side, old street. Again, definitely the right sort of era. Yeah, interesting. And there's that pub, the King's Bar. Just getting this wider shot. That's the market house where the museum is now. We're heading back to the, oh look at that, there's like an old redcoat uniform in that window. What the heck? Yeah, heading back to the car to drive to St. Lelant Church. It's very noisy. I think some of these streets, some of these buildings are really lovely, actually. I didn't really quite realise that Penryn was as nice as this. I mean, there's going to be other areas, you're probably laughing at that comment. There's going to be other areas, I suppose, like all towns, that are going to be less desirable. But actually, this like central zone, although it's really busy, like modern life, it's actually quite pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, if you stop to look at the houses and
Yeah.
the architecture and
Yeah.
actually they're very beautiful.
Yeah, and as you know, if you've been watching the channel a while, as I always say, if you're in a town, village, whatever, always just stop and just look up and just look at the buildings around you, and they really are. They really are. Some of them really are beautiful. Made the short commute to St. Lelant Church. Actually quite convenient. There's a parking space. There's like a parking sort of designated area. What's that place called? Like a car park. States there, Church Town. So we're going to head in. Again, another Cornish flag down there. Our national flag. There blowing in the breeze. And we're going to head into this churchyard. Thank you, my dove. And we're going to try and find him. Right, so I've actually seen a picture of his grave. It is here somewhere. And it correlates in this area somewhere because the background of the picture of the grave has got this. And I actually found the grave, if you're wondering. I haven't been here before, but I found the grave on findagrave.com or whatever it's called online. So we must be in the right area. I think he has to be on the back side of this building somewhere. Because like I said, it's all very higgledy-piggledy. What the heck is that in there? It's all very higgledy-piggledy. He has to be here. What's this one? That's it. Right by this. What the heck? Who's put this on my great-grandfather?
Why am I so good at finding your graves?
There he is. In loving memory of Thomas Andrew, who departed this life on the 3rd of February 1855. So those dates correlate with my information. In the 82nd year of his age, it says there. Well, that is Tresidder. Oh, Tresidder! Now, what's interesting, it states Tresidder there. Now, the person that he lodged with in Broad Street was a Mr. John Tresidder.
Yeah.
How interesting is that? I think it was John. Future me, done a little bit more research, a little bit more digging into the family tree, and it looks like John Tresidder, who was the, I presume, owner of 19 Broad Street, he lived there with his wife Nancy, and Nancy was Thomas's eldest daughter. So John Trezidder, by the looks of it, was Thomas's son-in-law. So obviously Thomas moved in with his daughter and son-in-law John, because I guess I don't know, maybe he didn't have a place to stay or whatever. That's all speculative. I don't know why he happened to be living with them, lodging with them or whatever. But there it is. So it turns out that John Trezidder was his son-in-law. Okay, back to the video. How interesting. What does that other one say? Yeah, like with a dot there to, yeah, cut the name off. Falmouth. Trezidder. So there he is. Thomas Andrew, my 4th great grandfather. I don't approve of this. What's this situation on top of him? I don't even know what it is. It's like some sort of compost or something. He's probably not overly bothered. But whatever that is, kind of obscures the view a little bit. I don't like that. But there it is. Can't really do anything about that. There he is. 1855. He passed away. And again, just to reiterate, if you've been following this sort of like journey, if you will, of mine for my family tree, you would have seen our video from Lelant, and you would have heard me mention, and I mentioned it earlier in the video, but Waldron Andrew, who is buried in Lelant. This is Waldron's father. So Waldron, obviously my 3rd great grandfather, and Waldron was the grandfather then, who died in 1870. He was the grandfather of Vernon Andrew, the sailor. So that's like the line of Andrews. There's no S on the end, but I just said Andrews, line of Andrews. But yeah, Thomas Andrew. There he is, my fourth great grandfather. It's a very higgledy-piggledy graveyard. That one there's like smashed to bits. I passed by that a minute ago, and goodness knows what's happened there. While we're here, we're just going to pop in the church a minute while we're here. Another beautiful old church here. St Budok Parish Church. So what were we, about a 5-minute drive away from Penryn? Yeah. Something like that, wasn't it? So it's all very close by. Let's step in. How do we get in? It's like a glass box. What's going on here? What is this situation? Okay, we're in. Have you got the font there? Yeah. Bits and pieces everywhere. The organ. Yeah. Very old, again, another old, super old structure. Very beautiful, mind. It's like the pulpit or whatever they're called. And again, you'll find this in a lot of old churches now. Like a little play area for the kiddos. Just so they don't get too ridiculous. The window, yeah, it is stunning, isn't it? You know, we've said on the channel a few times, you know, when we're not churchgoers. But I mean, you can't help to kind of look at some of these buildings and the windows and just think, crikey. So here's the question. I might, you know, it depends if we've got the information on ancestry or whatever. Now, Thomas was married to a Betsy. So my 4th great grandmother was called Betsy Andrew. I wonder if they got married here in this church.
Maybe.
I think they got married in 1799.
I mean, the parish record.
The parish, yeah. Oh yeah, we'd be able to find out that information for sure.
She was buried. him?
No, she wasn't with him, was she? That's a good point. Betsy Andrew, yeah, I don't know. She died before him. I think she, again, like a lot of people at the time, I think she was quite youngish when she died.
Betsy's a lovely name.
Betsy is a lovely name. But I think she was quite young when she died. You see, Thomas was 82. He had a darn good life for the era. I mean, to have been born in 1773 and died in 1855, you're doing pretty well. Or you've done pretty well, rather. It's like a window up there, like in the roof. I've never seen that in a church before, like a skylight. Obviously a new roof put on, I assume. Yeah, I've never seen a skylight. Have you, like that? Yeah. Okay, there it is, St Budok Parish Church.
Actually, it gives quite a lot of light.
It does give quite a lot of light in, yeah.
I can see why they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as big as the Lelant Church by the look of it, by the sort of feel of it. It's not as big.
I would say they're similar size.
I don't know, I'd say Lelant was a little bit bigger, if I'm being honest. That's just my own opinion, but... Yeah, alright, okay, well, there it is. Right, we're going to just walk around the church a minute. We thought that probably isn't, you know, like, because that doesn't strike me as a main entrance. We're thinking that it's around this side. Because normally, well, churches I've been in, you know, the orientation was wrong in there. You normally come down this side, I think. But again, I'm not an expert. Yeah, that's usually, yeah, that's like your front door, isn't it, normally? Actually, it's quite a big graveyard, isn't it? Yeah, oh, so we could have come in that way as well, because it looks, it's open, so obviously we could have gone in that way, so.
We're just sucking through the workers'
We just went through the workers' entrance. Yeah. Yeah, obviously this is, I assume, like added on over the years. Oh, it's like a boat out there, honking its horn. Or it could be oh yeah, it's more like a train, yeah. Yeah, sorry, ignore that. Just on our way around, it's another one of these, like, resting places that's all been, like, smashed up. I wonder why they've been smashed up like this. You know, like red tape around. I hope that it's going to be repaired, because it's not very respectful, is it? Yeah.
Without really knowing who is in it.
Yeah. Yeah, strange. Just another view there of the church. Yeah. Yeah, nice. We did it.
We did.
We tracked him down, found some of the places that he was associated with in Penryn. When I say found, obviously kind of like an approximate area.
I found the house that
well, definitely the house, yeah. Like I said, the house he lived in, I assumed, again, towards the end of his life. His land, and it was interesting, his like, landlord, whatever, person who owned that property was a John Tresider. And that little tiny scratch in there on the top of the tombstone, right there, says Tresider. So, yeah, I don't know exactly.
He paid for it, maybe.
Maybe he did pay for it, I don't know, yeah, yeah. I mean, my dad always heard that there was money somewhere in the Andrew line, and the profits or the money was drunk away. I don't know, just putting this out there. Perhaps, with all respect, perhaps Thomas drank alcohol, I don't, you know, and drank it away. I mean, he obviously had a business.
I would say it's
And he then, but in that last
an issue
census,
with that trade, isn't it?
maybe, well, yeah, but you know, he obviously was then a lodger towards the end of his life, meaning he didn't own his own property to live in. Maybe he did, yeah, maybe he did drink the money away. I don't know. That's just speculation, possibly. But yeah, there he is. That was super interesting. Thank you, my dove. We are going to leave the video there. I hope you found it interesting. I do hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to do all the usual YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, smash the bell. Check us out on all of our socials at The Bright Side. So from us to you and Thomas, cheers and gone.